Welcome to this video log on the ancient city of Laodicea, the seventh of the seven cities of Asia Minor that John wrote to in 96 AD. This was one of the cities that was condemned by John in Revelation chapter 3, verses 14 through 22. I'm going to introduce this city by looking at some of the scenes of the city generally in this video that you're looking at, and then we'll come back and circle back and talk about some of the aspects of the city in greater detail. Laodicea was an ancient city that was very rich, now located in modern Turkey on the river Lycus, near the city of Denizli. It lay on a major trade route in the neighborhood of several other important ancient cities. For example, it was located 10 miles to the west of Colossae, 6 miles to the south of Hierapolis, and 100 miles to the east of Ephesus, the first of the seven cities that John wrote to. Laodicea was founded by Antiochus II Theos, the king of the Seleucid Empire, who ruled between 261 and 253 BC. Antiochus named the city of Laodicea to honor his wife Laodice, and according to Pliny the Elder, the town was originally called Diospolis, or the city of Zeus. Antiochus the Great, who is also known as Antiochus Epiphanes, became the king here in 213 BC. He was famous for desecrating the temple in Jerusalem that resulted in the Maccabean War. He also transported 2,000 Jewish families to this area from Babylonia, so that many of Laodicea's inhabitants were Jews from this time. Ultimately, in 188 BC, the Romans defeated the Seleucids, and the Treaty of Apamea gave control of Western Asia Minor to the Kingdom of Pergamum. The last king then bequested the territory to Rome in 133 BC, and I've talked about that in some of my other video logs. The city also received from Rome the title of Free City. Laodicea benefited from its advantageous position on a trade route, and it was one of the most important and flourishing commercial cities of Asia Minor. There were large money transactions done in this city, and it had an extensive trade in black wool. Its wealth is referred to in the Bible. Laodicea was the chief city that comprised 24 cities beside itself, and the wealth of the inhabitants engendered a taste for the arts of the Greeks. It also had a great medical school. Wealthy citizens embellished Laodicea with beautiful monuments, and the city minted its own coins with inscriptions that show the worship of Zeus, Asclepius, Apollo, and the emperors. The area was also prone to earthquakes. A great earthquake occurred during the reign of Nero in 60 AD that completely destroyed the city, and the inhabitants rebuilt the city on their own without any imperial assistance from the Roman Empire. Ultimately, the city was destroyed during the invasions of the Turks and the Mongols. So Christianity at Laodicea had a fairly significant history. Since it had a large Jewish community, the city became a seat of Christianity. The book of Colossians mentions Laodicea as one of the communities of concern for Paul. It was sent greetings from Epaphras from Colossae, who asked for his greetings to be sent to the Laodiceans in Colossians 4:16. Some Greek manuscripts of 1 Timothy end with the words, quote, "written at Laodicea, metropolis of Phrygia Pakatiana," close quote. The bishops of the early church in Laodicea are uncertain. Some of the names are mentioned in the New Testament, including Archippus in Colossians 4:17, Nymphus, who's mentioned in the Apostolic Constitutions. There are 60 canons of a Council of Laodicea written in Greek. These canons are merely a resume of an older text derived from two distinct collections, and some Protestants invoked one canon to oppose the veneration of angels by the Catholic Church. The ancient ruins that you're looking at attest to the former greatness of Laodicea. There are many buildings, including two stadiums, which you saw the first one that had been excavated, and you're looking here at a second that has yet to be excavated. There were Roman baths, there were temples, there was a gymnasium, and also 2 theaters, a Bouleuterion or the Senate House. The streets traversed the town, flanked by colonnades and numerous pedestals that would have had some type of statues placed on them for some type of worship or to revere imperial people and rich people. North of town, toward the Lycus River, there are many sarcophagi, or the covers of them are left lying nearby. The West Theater was recently restored in 2022. It was originally built in the Hellenistic period and held 8,000 spectators, and it was used until about the 7th century AD. There's also a very, very large agora, or public square, for markets and other places for public gatherings. It was 370,000 square feet, and many of its 34-foot columns you can see in some of the videos that we're looking at, and I'll show you some pictures here in a minute as well, is 100 meters long, and an 11-meter high back wall is covered with frescoes. There was also an aqueduct that brought water into the city that started several miles away. It was an unusual aqueduct because rather than crossing the valley on top of pillars, it used an inverted siphon system that consisted of a double pressurized pipeline. So the pipeline descended into the valley and then back up to the city, and the water pressure at the bottom of the valley was of course a challenge without very strong piping. The water that was piped into Laodicea was heavily charged with calcareous material. The calcium deposits were such a big problem that some of the stone pipes were actually choked up by these deposits. The aqueduct ultimately appears to have been destroyed by an earthquake. In 2015, they found a rare marble block with an inscription of the water law. It was issued in 114 AD and regulated the use of water that was imported from the mountains to Laodicea. Violations of the law could result in a fine of between 5 and 12.5 thousand denarii for polluting water, destroying the channels, or opening the water pipes. So that gives you a pretty good idea of the city generally, and I'm now going to start looking at some of the individual ruins that we see in the city of Laodicea, beginning here with the East Byzantine Gate of Laodicea, obviously located on the east side of the city. This gate was constructed beginning in about 395 AD and continued through the early 5th century, when the emperors at the time ordered the city to be encircled about with fortifications. Thus, this gate on the east side next to the Syria Street was built, and you can see the street that leads up the city kind of in the center of the town.